Are you ever tempted to give the ears to the hill? Have either of you ever done it?
No, I did it in a minor match. I gave it the fist though.
Right, yeah.
Not the ears.
Yeah, no, I've given the fist right, not the ears.
Right, we're at the tactics board. Are we going to start with Tommy Walsh?
Yeah, like, you know, we were talking about the shape that
Kerry are red.
Kerry are red, yeah. And you're looking at Seanie O'Shea there, but this is possibly what Dublin could face if Tommy starts in there. But what I think he did very well against Tyrone, and if David Moran picks up ball around here, David Moran is very good at delivering ball in here. Tommy comes out and wins it, and then you have, you know, a Clifford coming on the loop left side, or if it's the opposite side, you've Gainey coming on the loop and getting a few easy scores. But what he can also do, I think what Tommy can do as well, is that's when he leads out to wings. But I think he's also very good at this lead out in front, and I think if he can get out in front and get ball into him with a Seanie O'Shea
or Stephen O'Brien, or a Gavin White coming off him, or hopefully if they put Tom Sullivan on Con, Tom can pull Con up the pitch when Kerry have the ball a bit, and Tom could get in there. He's well able to score. So he brings so much shape, and I think as Michael rightly said, he'll take a bit of heat off of these fellas to win their own ball early on. I think if you play Tommy Walsh inside, maybe your best defender might actually go in and mark him, because you're very worried about what happens if he gets the ball against a Davy Byrne. Can he just go past him? Mm-hmm. He's just too physically strong. So you might find that they'll put their best defender in.
Who's that?
Probably Cooper. I don't think they put Cooper on him. I don't think Cooper probably has the height.
I think that's where
Simons would probably go in on him.
Yeah, and that's why Kerry starting him causes much more of headaches for Dublin in pre-game and build-up.
It's a psychological warfare, really.
It is, yeah.
If you think back to the one thing that everybody talks about this Dublin team is the high ball into the full back line, and there's actually a bunch of goals over the last couple of years. Galway scored a goal. Cluxton got injured against Westmeath from a high ball that was going in. Like, there's just been a little bit of...
And Kerry are the best team that certainly I've ever played against at putting that high ball in, probably most notably to the man himself standing beside me, because they don't... A lot of the time you hear, you know, when it comes to what could we change, how could we make this more difficult to him, you hear, sure, put the big man in there and launch it in there. And you'll see teams that try and kick the ball from here or here, and they're launching it down on top of him, and it's a backs ball all day. Whereas Kerry are much better at coming down this wing, and then the ball goes to the far side, and it gives you, as an inside forward, I can stand like this, I can hold you off, and I can take it in that hand. Yeah. And like that ball coming over to here causes the most panic of any ball in Gaelic games, because you have runners coming in here and they're going straight at that goal.
We worked a lot in it last year, and I had a good understanding built up with corner forwards, and for 11 or 12 years of my career, I was constantly, you know, looking for this ball here. But as it took me 11 or 12 years to figure it out, unfortunately. But actually, the better ball is a ball kicked in here to a corner forward who turns. Because what happens when a corner forward turns there, your defender that's marking you, if that's Clifford with the ball, he's not really worried about you at all here. And if you can curl this with the inside of your boot across the square, this guy goes from not being worried at all to being in panic stations. Whereas I think when the ball's coming from out here, he can, you know, if it's a guy like me or Tommy, they're going to want to get to this position because they know this ball is coming, and that's now all of a sudden you're getting into a real physical match here. Whereas when that ball goes into the corner jar, this defender is always going to mark you to cut out any of these runs from that side. He's not going to stand behind you because it's too easy for you to go out and get it, so he's going to stand that side.
He's also doubling up just in case he goes past.
Correct, in case he wants to be the help. But that ball here that comes over the top has this guy scrambling, and you're able to attack it. It's an easier ball to catch, Jar. An inside of the boot, curled ball over your head is an easier ball to fetch than that one that's coming in at a 45-degree angle on the outside of the boot, and it's waving in the air, and Croke Park is got...
How many people can kick this?
I think Clifford and Gain, like I would have worked a lot with it with Clifford last year, Barry John last year. We would have done a good bit in it, and I hope that if it's something that Tommy is in there or comes in, that he would have talked to these boys about. I would have been preaching this to the team that I don't necessarily want it from here. That I prefer it when it goes in here, because it's just this guy switches off. He switches off for a split second. He goes, okay, I don't have to worry about the ball. It's gone into the corner. What's going on over there? Next thing, bang, it's coming in over his head. Now he's turned. Where is this guy that I have to mark? And if you catch it, if you catch this ball that's kicked from here and you catch it going this way, not only you're landing going towards goal and to score. So
back and back under the ball.
Yeah, he's
it's
panic stations. And I think if a ball goes in here, now I always said to the boys, if you run out here and win a hard ball, it's a lot to do to turn and take on your man and start trying to take him in along the in-line and score, because you're out here and the help is coming. But if you win a hard ball out there, I have no problem with you turning and kicking this across. And I'd always a good understanding with Cullum that if he won a hard ball out here, turn and kick it across. But if he wins a ball where he wins it with time, I'd always show for him that he'd be able to play 1-2 with me and go kick his score. Because he'd have time to pick me out after winning the good ball. But sometimes corner forwards win a hard ball. Michael will know all about it. Winning hard ball out here, down low.
Sliding.
It's a lot to do to start going, taking you on your man and scoring. And what often happens is it just gets recycled out and you get into this kind of game where you're hoping something works. Whereas if you can turn here quickly, get a ball across, a Clifford or a Gainey, curling that in the inside of the boot, what you have then is you've Tommy competing in here for the ball. You've this guy can now read it if it's coming from this side to come in. And as Michael said, you have your runners that can take off and hopefully get something for you inside.
And both Clifford and Gainey are both two-legged players, so it doesn't matter if they end up in either corner.
Not at all.
As a defender out here, if your man wins the ball there, you're arguably trying to cut off this space because you don't want him to turn inside.
Yeah.
He'll nearly let you go down the touchline.
They will, yeah.
Which is why, like, you get a couple of yards down the touchline, you catch your breath, and then it's just a floated ball across.
Yeah.
You know, it is. Sometimes nearly getting the ball into this area, like, you get so much space along this touchline.
It's where Dublin's second goal came from against Mayo, and it's almost exactly the same situation with obviously a brilliant run from which at the time was like, oh, he must have pushed him over, but he just broke his ankle with the turn. Yeah,
they've got that down, the Dublin guys have got that back door down where they come out and they cut back.
So are we saying this is Michael Fitzsimons, Mark and Tommy Walsh?
We were talking about it. We said Philly, Keane, O'Sullivan or Michael Fitzsimons are probably most ideally to match up, and just two of them not going to be starting. So
I think you would say as well, like, if Tommy comes on, the chances are Dublin turn around to the bench and send Rory O'Carroll in on top
or Philly. They'll have somebody earmarked for him when he comes on, but when he starts, I think.
He called for Rory O'Carroll in the other file, isn't it?
I think Rory O'Carroll, physique-wise, like I don't want to judge Rory O'Carroll on a game where he had a lot of guys that were new to the, they're in there. It was a glorified exhibition game where fellas were getting the chance to show Jim Gavin I can play. So are they really worried about going back here to help Roy O'Carroll? Yeah, he got turned once or twice by quick Tyrone guys, but he's matched up against me fine in an All-Ireland final. He's big, he's strong, he's aggressive, and he'd probably be ideally matched that if I saw Tommy Walsh jogging on with 15 minutes to go. He'd probably be my guy himself, or Philly would be my guy to go in and try and...
Who's Martin Clifford?
It depends whether Fitzsimons goes in on top of Tommy Walsh.
Depends if Tommy starts.
Let's say Tommy starts and Fitzsimons is marking him. So
Johnny Cooper will pick up Gainey, I would say.
Johnny Cooper will pick up Gainey.
Whoever is the third one will pick up Clifford. Whether that's, it could be any of the three that we've mentioned. It could be that they play.
I don't think Keane can mark Clifford.
No.
I don't think Philly can mark Clifford.
Do you not?
I don't.
I think Michael Fitzsimons is their ideal.
5 years ago, but I just don't. Clifford is,
Philly might bring the dark arts. That's the.
Oh yeah, and no doubt he will. But you can bring that to Clifford. He's well able for all that.
What about defensively? Who's Martin Conn O'Callaghan?
I think, a number of years ago, we had this potent full forward line. The year I was captain, I was dropped unfortunately, but we had James O'Donoghue, Paul Gainey and Gooch, and they put Philly and Johnny Cooper on them, and every time Dublin got a short kick out, these two lads went and pulled our most talented players 70, 80 yards away from the goals. And to be quite honest with you, if Con Callahan was playing the next day, and I would put Tom Sullivan on him. Tom Sullivan has a very good record marking guys this year.
Probably the outstanding candidate, isn't he? Like,
he is, and I think he's the guy best equipped to take Con away from our goals.
Which is a different question.
Yeah, ask him a different question. You said it a minute ago. Lee Keegan took you down the pitch 3 times. It's nothing more.
I don't think Tyke Morley or Jason Foley will do that as much as Thomas Sullivan does.
No, and not
Thomas Sullivan has ended up here
so many times during the championship.
Won't the Dubs just pass them off though? Won't they play zonely, so they're not.
But that's fine. It's all well and good to pass them off, but if Tom Sullivan goes up and kicks a pint, the passing him off kind of goes, hold on, I'm going to go with him now the next time. And if Tom could do something like that early, again, if you're talking about being the aggressors, you're not being a reactor. You're not saying, we need Tommy Walsh now, we're reacting, we'll put him in now. You're being aggressive, you're going with Tommy. This is an aggressive mindset as well, to put Tom Sullivan on him and say, Tom, mark him, but when Kerry get the ball, go, we've licensed for you to go, and maybe a Gavin Crowley could sit in and hold for you or whatever, in case it breaks down, and we're not exposed totally. But if Con Callaghan is out here for Dublin the next day, that's a huge win for Kerry.
Yeah, now he scored his goals in a couple of All-Ireland finals from the 40.
Yeah.
You see, against Dublin, I think you can fall into the trap of trying to contain too many players. Like, do you contain Mannion, Conor Callaghan, Kilkenny, Howard, Fenton, Jack McCaffrey, James McCarthy, and suddenly you have 7 of your team which have been detailed a job to go and mark. Like, you have to.
You have to have a cut-off this if you're Kerry.
You have to, you have to
be cautious.
No, you can't. And you have to ask them a question. I don't, like, Mayo in the first half, they played a controlled game in that semi-final. They wore them down. It was a war of attrition, just kind of. I don't think Kerry can do that. I think they're too forward-oriented for them to do that, which means that they just have to go for it.
Kerry are like Liverpool. They don't have the ability to just keep possession.
I think they're back. Like, they've just conceded. They've conceded a lot of scores this year.
Yeah.
And that's what if it came to a shootout.
That's what it has to be, and it has to be a shootout where Clifford gets 2-2 and Gainey gets 1-3 and Tommy Walsh hand passes 2 points and wins a penalty. It has to be but that requires this battle here is going to be essential.
Well, let's talk about that then. A lot of talk about Jack Barry, because there's been a couple of league games that he's done really well, and Brian Fenton.
I think I reckon it'll be again. I think it'll be a 2-man job to go on Fenton. I think either Adrian Spillane will start and do that job, and then Barry will come on, or else it'll be the other way around. I don't think going for 70 minutes in Jack Barry's sense, where he's not really played a whole pile, he's been injured. I think it's very tough to ask him to go into an All-Ireland final and say, here, look, you're marking Brian Fenton for 70 minutes. It's extremely tough. Whereas if you say, like, look, we'll get you to half-time, see how you are, maybe get another 10-15 minutes out of him, and hopefully, now I know league football and championship in Croke Park in the 1st of September is a big difference, but he is the only person probably over the last couple of years who's really held Fenton, or asked, like, really put him under a bit of pressure.
He's again, for me, if you're going to be the aggressors and you're going to attack this in an All-Ireland final day, which the crowd will want, and I think as players you'd want that message that we're going to go for it. It is a big call, but like Mike said, I think Barry knows him. He's played college football with him for a few years. They played together with UCD, himself and Fenton, so they'd have a good understanding with it. Fenton would know that Jack is, a hard-nosed, kind of won't back down type character. So I think you go with him and you say, give me what you got, and we'll bring on somebody else. Adrian Spillane was having a good enough summer, but he had a poor day against Tyrone. You always want to give a chance to a fella to atone for that. But physically, Jack is a lot bigger than Adrian, and again, he has that understanding of the way Fenton likes to play. I'm sure they would have talked. If you're a midfield partner, Joe, for a few years in college, you kind of talk about where you want the ball, where you like the ball. So you have to use that for your advantage. I heard Kobe Bryant recently talking about when he was in with the US Dream Team, or Jordan was in with the US Dream Team, and he used to be asking fellas, kind of playing the let's win it for USA. But really what he was doing was for the playoffs the following year. He knew every guy's weakness. He knew what every guy wanted to do. So he was really cute.
Kerry blood and Michael Jordan.
Yeah, so maybe...
That's why they send a couple of them up to Dublin to go to college.
Exactly, yeah. No, I think you got to go with him, and I think, and if you don't, and you go with Adrian's plan, I'd put Dave Moran on him and see if Dave can implement. Dave's got so much quality, he can implement his game and make Fenton actually worry about, hold on, where's that guy gone, or I can't let this guy pick out passes.
Moran makes the whole Kerry team tick when he's on the front foot.
Yeah.
but I think he'll mark Michael Dar McCauley because I think he's probably the only person who's physically big enough to go against McCauley. McCauley is a raw, like, he's an animal. You know, he'll go as hard as he can for 50 minutes, and I think Moran is probably the one person who can handle that, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if you're doing one containment job on Dublin, it's probably on Fenton.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why you
maybe don't put Moran on him because he makes the Kerry team tick so much. That's why you go with the other one.
Yeah, and it's only that if Jack Barry doesn't start, I think I'd prefer to put Dave on him.
This is McCaffrey and Stephen O'Brien?
I think James McCarthy will pick up Stephen O'Brien.
Right.
I think Kerry will want Gavin White on Jack McCaffrey because Stephen O'Brien's got the pace to go with Jack McCaffrey, obviously, but you don't want
him completely exhausted.
Him kind of just on the back foot all day, and Dublin knowing that, like, if you're Dublin and you know, you probably look to say go out and try and pick up Stephen O'Brien if you're Jack McCaffrey to get him down here as much as you can, whereas Gavin White's natural back, so Kerry won't be too worried about him being back there.
And Gavin White has probably the attributes of a Durkin who did it against McCaffrey. He's done it against Ryan Hugh, against Donegal as well.
Okay. What if Dublin decide that's not what they want?
That was what I was saying. I think if you were Dublin, I think you might go, right, Jack, you didn't have the greatest day against Paddy Durkin a couple of days ago. Stephen O'Brien is your job. Get on top of Stephen O'Brien because Stephen O'Brien's got Kerry's
strength as well.
Yeah.
Stephen's a really strong guy, like, and he's massive legs. He's low to the ground, and
he's been Kerry's best forward.
He has, and I think
he asks a different question than the rest of the Kerry forward line.
I think James's strength, and James McCarthy's ridiculous pace for his size. So I think James will be earmarked to take Stephen O'Brien out. Leave the two lads go at each other, and you've John Small inside and Sean O'Shea.
We've 2 minutes left. Did you want to talk to us about the press?
Just look. I suppose what Dublin are going to do on this press is look. It's been well documented, and it's been so good the way they do it. So they set up with their 4 guys. They pull these guys out a small bit, and they ask you so many questions, and you know, against Mayo, we did something like this, although we'd more of a kind of 4 banks of 4 formation, whereas Dublin have kind of tweaked it, I think, for the betterment. They're pulling these guys in a small bit, and they're leaving this little pocket here, and they want you to kick it out. But when you kick it out, to this pocket, they've got 3 guys that are converging on breaks, and they're winning a lot of those breaks. So Cluxton's obviously boot is essential, or Shane Ryan's boot is essential in this, and how he gets over, and how we do it. And I think what Kerry have to do is start. What Dublin are brilliant at is this fist injure. So you kick it out here, and McCauley comes through and he fists it in, and they're on it. They're through on your middle. They're bearing down on goal, and it happened to Mayo time and time again at the start of that second half. So it's deadly dangerous. So I think Kerry have to aim a lot of their kickouts long and to the wings. And I think Dave Moran and Jack Barry or whatever have to start here and really break hard towards the wings and try and get it where Kerry are getting bodies out here. If you lose it here, they fist it in, you're over here, you're fine. Your defenders over on this side now, the Kerry defenders can cheat in case you lose it, that you've got a bit of help and support there. I think that's hugely important.
Anthony Marr was brilliant at it with David Moran for years, where this is the weak spot, I would say, in this setup. If you set up with a man here, he can be held, and David Moran's going in front. Maher used to do it for years. He'd just stand in and one would go up in front, and you basically have an uncontested catch. Because in this setup, kicking it down the middle is the biggest no-no.
Oh yeah,
because it's fist, and then suddenly 4 of them are running.
Yeah, it's recipe for disaster.
You're hitting the halfway line.
Well, do you know what I do, Jar? I would tell the team. I would say, lads, have a look out when Dublin score. Have a look out. If Finton's over here, start drifting towards that side. We
we do this a lot with basketball. If you're trying to beat a zone in basketball, you overload it. That's the simple premise. If you dribble down the ball and you see a zone, first thing you hear every point guard in underage Irish basketball, they say overload. And what overload is you get more bodies out against somebody. So if I see Fenton over here and my team know that, okay, we're not going to Fenton's side because you just don't want to give him oxygen. Again, this is if Jack Barry's on him, because Dublin are going to hit him, Fenton enough with kickouts. So you're saying Fenton is not going to contest one of our kickouts. We'll kick it to Macaulay or Howard or James McCarthy, anybody else but him, because he's the linchpin. You don't want to feed him with oxygen. So you look out, Fenton's over here. I'd be sending guys over that way.
Especially if McCarthy is here as well. You don't want to kick it that side. You're targeting the other wing.
I'd be saying wherever Fenton is, I'd have a good understanding with my team that we're not kicking it out Fenton's side. Let's turn out, have a look. You see Fenton there, just start drifting over the other side, because that's where we're going with it. So can you gamble, get in off breaks? Can Shane Ryan pick out a ball here where you might have 3 dubs, 4 Kerry fellas, breaks down, away you go, and hopefully your Gainies is coming out there as an outlet or whatever. And
there's a space here because they're pressing.
Well, yeah, but as soon as that kick out goes there, they'll start retreating back straight away to get their shape. But it's
the most impressive thing about that press, and we were chatting about it, is the fact that they're able to get into it in open play.
I think they're getting into it in open play, Mike, because Kerry are playing so many, or teams are playing so many
bends against them.
Yeah, that if you're a team playing against Dublin and you've got all these bodies back,
there's no reason for them not to do it.
There's no reason for them not to do it. These guys are sitting out here doing nothing. So what they do is, as soon as it starts looking like that Dublin are going to get a score, these guys start moving forward, and they're ready then that when that ball is kicked and it goes dead, they're ready to get into whatever slot they're supposed to have and allow this wall of 4 of McCarthy, Fenton, Macaulay and Brian Howard.
Does everybody do this? Does everybody have this press?
It's starting to come. The compromise rules team played against the Aussies in 2015, and the Aussies did this and were murdered by it early on by Ireland, because Ireland got catches and brilliant foot passes and got goals out of it early on. But in the second half, Aussies kept with it and really caused them a lot of trouble with this. And it was something that the Hawthorn Hawks did, and it was something I talked to Ty Kennelly about. And when I went to Eamon to look at this before the 2016 semi-final against Dublin, I said we need to throw something at Dublin that Cluxton puts down the ball and sees a wall of Kerry guys and kind of goes, hold on, this is a bit different.
That's the biggest thing about the press. It's painting the picture for the opposition goalie that there's nothing on. Literally nothing at all. When he looks up and goes, oh.
Yeah, if you're going to give Dublin every possession here and they're able to come up, I know what Dublin have done is they've said, okay, we can do that. We've got the personnel for that. And not only can we do it from set plays like we did it in 16, so every time we did close and free in 16,
everyone pushes.
We said, take your time over the free. We'll be able to get guys up into their slots. But what Dublin are now is they're so used to having so many bodies up and playing against so many defenders that when the ball goes dead, they're in the positions, and they're not too worried if Macaulay finds himself in here and Scully's out here. They're not too worried. It's the principle of it is very simple. If it comes out your way, box it back in, unless you're sure obviously that you can catch it. If you can catch it clean, you catch it clean, but their orders, I'd say, would be box it and break it in.
All right, that was great. We'll stick that up on YouTube separately. Of course, next week's Shot Clock will be back to its normal format, but it